Hello and welcome to this week's Hobbytime at Healys video. Thank you very much for tuning in. This week I'm going to be talking about my top 5 Space Marine character models that I feel need to have the 9th edition treatment. So grab yourself a cuppa and let's dive on in. So before we get onto the list, there was a few rules I kind of set myself just so that everything was kind of fair in terms of what my criteria would be. So for this I'm looking at anything from Games Workshop's range of individual character models, so no kind of squads or anything like that. Specifically I'm kind of looking at ones that aren't necessarily bad models or old models, although a lot of these will be old. I'm just looking for models which I think need that 9th edition revamp. That kind of, the care that went into the likes of Mephiston, Marneus Calgar, Corsairo Khan, that kind of sort of vibe, when the models have just been upgraded and just basically just look perfect for 9th edition. It's not necessarily that they have to go through the Rubicon, although some of these would be cool. It's more to kind of, they just need a revamp. So let's get to the list. So kicking off this list, first model that I think needs the 9th edition treatment is going to be the Ultramarines Chaplin Cassius. Now this guy is old. This is an old model, and just generally the Marine himself is old. So he is the oldest member of the Ultramarines chapter that's not interned in a Dreadnought. First Tyrannic War veteran, and he's now obviously part of Deathwatch as well, so he has been around a long time. He's been laid low multiple times, like in terms of I'm surprised he's still alive. Most of his body is bionics. I'm pretty sure he'll fit in really well with the Iron Hands. But the model itself, just look at it, it's old. It needs a revamp. It needs something matching the grandeur of this. This is the Master of Sanctity for the Ultramarines. This guy needs a boost. I mean, I think he's got too many bionics to possibly go through the Rubicon, although I'm pretty sure he's stubborn enough to get through it anyway. But I would just like the model just to have a revamp, just something of that grandeur. I just think he looks very small. He's kind of in that just sort of very stagnant sort of, pose, very flat when the old presses and the old molds used to be, and he's still in resin. I just think, yeah, a really nice update for this would be super cool. Something of, matching the grandeur and really build up the detailing on those bionics. Again, I'm not saying this is a bad sculpt. I think it's a really nice miniature, but it's just not up to the standard we're seeing now from Games Workshop. Moving on to number 4, this is going to be Khan on bike from the White Scars. Now this is a bit of a double-edged one, because this isn't just necessarily Khan on bike, it's also, I'm surprised that we haven't got a Corsairo Khan on a Moondraken. I was really expecting when they announced Corsairo Khan as the model. It's a beautiful miniature, I think it's really nice, but the fact that the option for him to be on bike was retired to Legends, and just generally, I was hoping that you could get a really cool looking, big bike for the Primaris. Now, of course, we know that we have the new Outriders, so I would like to think it's not going to be too long before we see a Khan on bike model that matches. So one that is on the new Outriders. Maybe you could put Corsairo Khan on one of the bikes. I just think that there's a lot of play here for the White Scars, and I know White Scars players that I play with in the community were really shocked that they lost him on the bike and there wasn't a really cool looking thing. But now we've got the Outriders, fingers crossed we can get something from it. The Khan on bike itself model isn't too bad. It's slightly more dynamic than most because obviously he's on a bike and he has the spear and it just looks really nice. But yeah, again, would love to see it scaled up. With the bike kits maybe updated for the standard Adeptus Astartes and an Outrider option for the Primaris. Now for number 3, this model is almost as old as me. So this here is the Rune Priest in Terminator armor for the Space Wolves. And this guy's old. This is 1993. So it says this model is 27 years old and it looks it. I mean, don't get me wrong, for the time, the detailing on this sculpt is really nice. All the runes on the armor, but he's just kind of hunched and he's not very dynamic and he looks really small. I mean, if you buy him now, he comes in resin still, and he is on a 40mm base. I'm not sure from that image if that is a 40mm base. If it is, it just doesn't look right. It looks to me like it's maybe a 32 or a 25mm base, and that's why its feet are hanging off the edge. But with so many really nice looking Space Wolf models that we have there now, with the Wolfen, the detailing on Logan Grimnar and the new Ragnar Blackmane model, I really think that the standard Rune Priest in Terminator armor really needs a revamp. Yes, I'm aware that you can get the Narge Stormcaller model. You can still get the classic one, which also looks like it needs an update, but you can also get it in Terminator armor, which is still a fine cast model. It's still resin. It's nice. It's a nice kit. It's posed very well, and you could convert this into a Rune Priest in Terminator armor very easily by maybe just swapping out the helmet. But again, that would be much easier if that was also in plastic. But going back to the original Rune Priest, I just really think that it needs a revamp, and again, bring it up to that lovely 9th edition standard that we're seeing. Just before we move on to our top minis, I have a special announcement to make. This week, the Hobbytime at Healys Discord server has gone live. So if you want to join us in our wonderful community that we've got going, please hit the link in my link tree below, join us and say hello. And number 2, so I really struggled to narrow this down, so I'm just going to kind of make a broad statement here, and I'm going to say just Dark Angels as a blanket. The list of the models that I was trying to choose between is which one I think is the oldest, which one looks dated, which one needs an update, was massive. So, I mean, when I look through it, you've got Asmodai. None of these are necessarily bad sculpts, and I think the designers worked on what they had at the time. I would just like them all updated. But yeah, so Asmodai. So you've got Samael as well. I think this guy would look awesome. I mean, the bike itself is really cool. It's like his own version of a jet bike, which I think is really nice. But again, I just think the model itself is 33 pieces. It's a component kit made entirely out of resin. I think with all the new technology we have, the plastic version would look fantastic. So yeah, an update for Samael. Ezekiel, again, would just like an update for him to bring him up to the standard that we're seeing from the new minis. Even the Company Master, just the standard Company Master, I think it's just, I mean, its feet isn't even on the base. It's falling off the side of the base. Yes, you could put him on a 32mm, but I just think, again, come on, zhuzh him up a bit, make him a bit more dynamic. As cool as the stoic look pose is, against kind of the rest of the Dark Angels, I kind of would like to see some of that ferocity from him that you get from the Lions new model, especially some of the really nice stuff we're seeing from Forge World. But yeah, a little bit of a zhuzh. And rounding off the Dark Angels here would definitely be Azrael. This is the Supreme Grandmaster, and the miniature doesn't scale up. It really doesn't. It doesn't match with it. I just think it would be awesome. I mean, I love the little guy carrying the helmet. I think that's a really nice touch. I would just really like to see himself. I mean, I don't think he would go through the Rubicon because of the whole Dark Angels not really quite trusting the Primaris, not as much as the rest of the Legions who were quite happy to take them. It would be cool to still have him as a standard Adeptus Astartes, but let's build the model up a little bit. You know, show some love to the standard Adeptus Astartes, not just the Primaris variants. But I'm hoping that something will maybe come from that when we see Dark Angels in 2021. And before we get to that number 1 spot, we have an honourable mention right here for Pedro Cantor, the Chapter Master of the Crimson Fists. I would love to see him cross the Rubicon, get a really cool looking model, and kind of revamp the Crimson Fists, make them basically bigger and better. I just think the model itself, again, it's a really nice model. If you compare to some of the older, more dated kind of fine cast models, this one's actually held up really well. I would just want him to get the recognition he deserves, and just this is one where I think crossing the Rubicon would be super cool to see that Primaris variant, and just give some love to the Crimson Fists. And at the number 1 spot, if the mug at the beginning of the video didn't give it away, it is a Blood Angel, and it is of course Dante. Now, this model came out in 1995, so it's not as old as some of the other ones we've seen on the list. The pose is okay. It's not overly dynamic. It's very restrictive. There's not a lot you can do with this model. I did look at Astarath and Lamates and think all these guys could do with a boost as well, but Dante himself is the oldest living Space Marine not interned in a Dreadnought across the Legions, just flat out there. And I think he deserves to have that model that represents it. I think he's too old to go through the Rubicon. I think keep him as the Adeptus Astartes that he is. But I would love to see him have a really awesome new dynamic pose. Give a bit of love to his jump pack, because I think his jump pack doesn't look as good as it could be. So yeah, just a bit more detail work on his Inferno pistol and his axe. Just general, I think the detailing on this model is really nice. and I would like to see that carried over, but scale him up to that 32mm standard that we now know from the Marines. I would love him to have a really imposing kind of stature, so he can almost demand respect from the Primaris Marines, even though they are taller and they are bigger. But I would love to see his model have that poise and presence that I think he would have. Like, you know, I feel Dante would walk into any sort of meeting and everybody would immediately sort of respect him. I mean, I even think Gulliman would respect Dante, considering how old he is and the things that he's seen and done. Yeah, Dante is my number one pick for this. Obviously slightly biased being a Blood Angel player, but that's it. And there we have it. So that's the list. I hope you enjoyed it. Are there any Space Marine characters you think I've missed? Anyone you think that should be on this list? Should maybe be ranked higher than my rankings? I mean, again, this is only my personal opinion. And I want to reiterate again, I don't think any of these models are bad. I just think they are dated and I would love to see them scaled up. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you very much for watching. There'll be more of these lists coming up in the future, covering various different armies, so don't worry, any Xenos players in the comments, don't worry, we're going to get to them soon, trust me on that one. And if you really liked what you've seen, please hit that subscribe button, that notification bell as well, and it really helps me out. And if you'd like to support content creators like myself, please check out the link tree below and look at the coffee page that's in the link there. This is a great way to support content creators all across various mediums by simply buying them a cup of coffee. And remember as well, don't forget to check out our Sunday Hobby Hangouts on Twitch, where we talk about all the gaming news from the week in relation to the world of Warhammer, miniatures and various other things. And we shout out to some fantastic miniatures that we've seen across the week from wonderful content creators within the community. So thank you very much for watching. And remember folks, stay safe out there, stay positive, and remember, be an ambassador for your hobby. Thank you. Bye bye.